Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar here. Welcome back. I hope you're having an awesome day. Let's get right into it. Today I want to talk a little bit about some off-season whitetail work that you can start in with right now. So first and foremost is I'm keeping track and tabs on young deer that I see a lot of potential in genetically. Now, a lot of deer are just your generic, these young deer are just your generic 8-point frames. Maybe a 2-point frame, generic stuff like that. That's common. The deer I'm looking for are the ones that are expressing a lot of potential for the future. Now, one I can think of specifically, I've got a shed right here. This is a buck that showed up last year as a 2-year-old. We called him Baby G. As you can imagine, this is a 2-year-old shed. That's a deer that's got a lot of potential genetically. Now, this is just not common to have a 2-year-old deer express this type of genetic potential as a 2-year-old. So as you can imagine, I was really excited about this deer. He showed up this year as a 3-year-old, just a stud. He's probably sitting mid-30s, mid to high 30s, I would say. Now, this deer ended up getting killed this season as a 3-year-old during the muzzleloader season, which I was less than thrilled about, but that's what happens when you're hunting small properties like I am. You can't control a large amount of acreage. Deer that get killed on neighboring properties are out of your control, and that's just something you have to live with unless you're owning these large properties that you can manage heavily. What I mean by keeping tabs on these deer is paying attention to their tendencies, trying to solve the mystery of their home range early. Figure out where they're at, where they like to be, because they express these tendencies throughout their age. This is the time where you're influencing these deer on where they should be. So I like to get as much intel on a specific deer as I possibly can by the time I'm hunting him at 4 or 5 years old. Because why not? If he's sitting on my land, if he's using my land consistently from 1, 2, 3 to 4 and 5, why not learn his habits and tendencies as a 1, 2, and 3-year-old, keep all those trail camera photos, look back, record all this information. Now I have a history with this deer, and I'm just starting to hunt him. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, if you like the video, like what you're seeing, but you still need more help, shoot me a message. I'll help you with whatever you need. I got your back for life. Now let's get back to the video. So I'm far more experienced with this deer before I even start hunting them, rather than just starting to try to figure them out as a 4 and 5-year-old. If I start early when they're young, yes, there's going to be differences in their habits and tendencies from when they're 2-year-old versus a 4 and 5-year-old. They're going to be a little more weary and smart and cautious with their decision making, but there's also overlapping habits and rituals that they've settled into. They understand what they can and can't get away with on your property. And it's better to know that early on than to wait until you're actually trying to harvest these deer. Number 2 here is going to be food sources. Now, paying attention to food sources during the late season, during the off season is super important, because this is going to predict where deer are going to be when these situations arise. Now, sitting mid-January right now, my season's still open. My bow season, my archery season runs until the 31st of January here in Wisconsin. I don't have a specific buck I'm chasing right now. That's why I haven't been hunting recently. I've got a couple deer that have shedded out that I'm waiting to go in and try to find those. But I'm paying attention right now to where are the deer herds? Where are the ag fields that they're pounding with this deep snow, below 0 temps? It's been viciously cold. I'm trying to pay attention to when these circumstances and conditions show up. Where are these deer going? So paying attention to specific circumstances and conditions during what time of the year is a huge benefit to learning deer herds and learning your neighborhood when it comes to hunting these deer, because deer herd up in the wintertime. They feel secure. It's bachelor time again. These bucks are no longer fighting. They're buddies again. They're starting to help each other. So when you find one, you're going to find multiple. And it's the same thing with the does. The does are always grouped up in these big bunches. If you find the food source they're hitting, you're going to find a ton of deer. So I like to pay very close attention to what's causing deer to hit a specific food source at what time and where are they. So I can analyze this and understand how deer move throughout the season in my neighborhood, in that area. Number 3 here is gonna be trail cameras. Now my cameras are still running. I'm leaving my cameras out until most bucks have shedded. I picked a couple up the other day in an area that I haven't been getting much activity, but I'm keeping these cameras on the food sources. I wanna see what deer are hitting which food sources when. I wanna know what deer are still alive, what their tendencies are when it gets real cold, deep snow, it's very brutal outside. I wanna know where they're going, where they're staying during that time frame. Because then you can guarantee when things get ugly in November, maybe during the muzzleloader season, when this winter and this nasty weather hits earlier, they're gonna shift into those winter grounds much faster. And you're gonna have an opportunity to harvest them based on knowledge that you picked up during the late season this year. So I'm recording my trail camera intel. Thomas Milsna at the Untamed Ambition, he has an awesome whitetail success planner. That's what I use. It's very handy. I can write down the exact date, the exact time, where the deer was, where he was moving, wind direction, all of that. And you can put it on a piece of paper and see it physically. And that helps paint that picture of finding similar tendencies and trying to pattern these bucks. So I like to use that, but I'm recording trail camera intel and I'm planning. I'm planning on where I'm going to kill my next buck. Now when I'm taking in this trail camera intel, I don't want to just see a picture of a buck. I want to see a picture of a buck, use it as a piece to the puzzle on how to kill that buck next season. Oh, he's daylight on this food source when it's cold. There's 16 inches of snow. Why? Ask yourself the question why, figure out why, where he was bedding, what wind direction, where he's coming from, why he feels secure traveling during daylight, what trail he came in. How you can approach that next season to capitalize on habits like that. That's what I'm leaning into right now. This is all information. You need to constantly be intaking and uptaking this information for your benefit next year and the seasons to come. Now finally, I'm planning for next season. Now if your property has any ag, most of the time they're rotating crops from corn to beans to maybe hay sometimes, things like that. There's a crop rotation going on. Personally on my farm, we go corn to beans, corn to beans, corn to beans, back and forth, just like that. So this year it was a corn year. My property is not necessarily its best on corn years. Now I don't necessarily understand exactly why that is. Maybe it's just the cover aspect when I'm not seeing as much activity as those bean years when I would be able to see the deer easier. Maybe it's just in my head something similar, something easy like that. But I feel like my property really thrives on those bean years when those deer show up early, they're hitting the green beans in July, and they don't seem to want to leave. They start hitting my food plots earlier, and it just seems like it works out better and it's a better year for hunting. Now this season, it also could have been thrown off by the huge number of acorns that were dropped. Now that throws off everything when it comes down to deer hunting. Acorns are number one. Deer are very difficult to hunt when there's a good acorn year. They don't have to come out of their bedding areas. That's something I've talked about in a previous video. Go back and check that out. But I'm planning for next season. I'm planning on what are the crops gonna be? When is gonna be the best time to go in and hunt my property, a specific buck? Where? When's he gonna show up? Things like this, I'm asking myself these questions and I'm trying to find the answer. Now, another thing, I'm looking at stand locations. What stands were productive last year? Did I see deer? Did I have an opportunity at a good buck? That opportunity, was I able to capitalize? Was he within range? Did I feel like the stand was productive? If yes, I'm gonna leave it, or I'm gonna hunt that again. If not, how can I adjust it? How can I make this stand more productive? These are all things that we can constantly be improving and working on year to year. This is never a finished product. You're never a finished product. We're always improving. Another thing, food plots. What am I gonna plant? I'm planning all of this out. What blend did I plant last year? How did it grow? How did that turn out? Did the deer hit it during season? Was it productive? Am I happy with the result I got? These are all questions you need to be asking yourself regarding anything you were doing last season, because it's only gonna benefit you if we're continually improving on that stuff. And finally here, I didn't have enough room, but that's a little target right there. Do you have a target buck? If so, how are we gonna make a game plan to kill that deer? Me personally right now, I'm still after split G2. I'm not sure if I'm hunting a ghost at this moment. I'm not sure. I haven't seen him since November 10th or 11th. He went MIA. I'm trying to find his sheds this spring. I'm gonna go really hard trying to find it. I ended up picking one of his up last year. I just found absolute tag, dude. I was just cruising through this logging road with the four-wheeler, and it's a hammer, dude. I think it's the buck I was after this year. Yep. Split 2. Dude, come on. Gotta be kidding me. He's a hammer. Let's go, man. Get that horn. Come on. But this deer is throwing me for a loop this winter. He hasn't showed up on the standing grain at all. I'm trying to find him back. But we need to be looking and trying to pattern these deer right now. When do these bucks show up? When does your target buck show up? When does he leave? Does he leave? Does he stick around? Does he shed his antlers here? When he sheds his antlers, if you pick him up, how does that help you kill that deer in the future? All of these things tie in. All of these little things, picking up an antler isn't that cool. Picking up an antler, understanding why it was dropped there, understanding where he was coming from, where he was bedding, that's what's cool to me. I like seeing all of the different situations and all of the information. So I just came ripping. I was gonna try to pick up that other half of the G2 buck, and I got a pretty good up and comer here. Gonna be a slammer, dude. Let's go. In my switch field, right up top. They've been pounding it. It's got a lot of protein in it, so pretty cool. Out of that one little piece of sign, that horn on one trail going this direction, coming out of this bedding area. Oh, it was within these days. What was the wind? Okay, it was a kind of consistent wind out of the west. These are all things you need to be paying attention to, looking back on. Trying to find those trail camera photos. Putting the pieces of the puzzle together. This late season time is a very beneficial time to learn deer. Figure out how they react when things get uncomfortable. A lot of times during the deer season, bad weather hits early. So if you can understand how deer react, how deer move, where deer go when this weather gets rough like it is right now, well below zero, late season, deep snow, where are they feeding? You can learn a lot about deer, figure out where they're gonna be, anticipate that, and be far more successful hunting next fall. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, if you like this video, if it helped you at all, like, share, subscribe. It helps me a ton. We'll spread the message. Let's blow this thing up. Also, check me out on Instagram, Gunnar_Hanson, GUNNAR_HANSON. Remember, results are the only thing that matters. Let's get them.